Can you guess which film festival I went to this month? My shirt might give it away. This was my 4th year going to the Toronto International Film Festival, and my 2nd wearing a press pass. In case you've never been to TIFF, or just don't know much about the film festival world in general, I'll give you a quick rundown of what TIFF is like. The Toronto International Film Festival is one of the world's most prominent and prestigious film festivals. You get celebrities there of A-list caliber every year coming to do Q&As after film premieres, as well as some red carpets, and they might even sign some of your posters if you're lucky. TIFF premieres movies that are of blockbuster, indie, or Oscar caliber, and they also inherit a lot of the big movies, not all, but many of the films that also premiere at Cannes, Venice, and Telluride. Venice and Telluride are actually usually wrapping up in the first days of TIFF. So in the first and second week of September, Toronto's King Street basically gets turned into Festival Avenue, with pop-ups, food trucks, even movie trivia happening on the streets, as well as the very cool gift shop at TIFF's Lightbox. As a member of the public, you can also buy tickets to see as many movies at TIFF as you want, if you're lucky and get all the screenings you want to see. As press, you get some interesting benefits. First of all, you get 10 free redemptions to any public screenings that you want, as well as an unlimited amount of press screenings, which are usually happening in the mornings, but they're always on a first come, first served basis. So if it's a big movie and something you really want to watch, you might want to line up like an hour before. Even then, apparently there was a movie on the first day that hundreds of people were kicked out, even in a theater with a 400 plus people capacity. There are times that I've lined up for an hour, but usually if it's not a huge movie, then you'll be able to get a seat if you get there 30 to 45 minutes before. And there's also the opportunity to apply to red carpets, which you have to do the night before, and then you find out a couple hours before if you got into this red carpet as a pundit. And those are really fun, even though it's never guaranteed if you'll ask everyone or anyone a question at all. But to me, they're always a fun experience, even if it's just making new friends and seeing some famous people up close, even if they're just walking past you for a sec. This year, I only covered one red carpet, and it was for Glenn Rothen, which stars and is directed by Brian Cox. I didn't see the movie itself, but I did see Brian Cox, as well as Alexandra Shipp, and much of the rest of the movie's Scottish cast and crew, as the movie was filmed in Brian Cox's home country of Scotland on the red carpet. And as a huge movie lover, getting to be in the same room as some iconic movie actors and filmmakers never gets old. Throughout the week, I saw a total of 16 movies, which may sound like a lot, but was actually really low compared to the rest of the numbers in my friend group. So I want to run down the movies that I saw at TIFF and whether or not I recommend them. The first movie I watched was Christy. It's a pretty standard boxing biopic. Sydney Sweeney is solid in it, and the movie's too slow for me until the last 20 minutes, which pack a really powerful punch and definitely won over my audience, as well as the fact that the real-life Christy was there, standing next to Sydney Sweeney. There are some good performances, and it's probably going to provoke discussion with its powerful third act, but overall, I've seen much better boxing movies. The Lost Bus is another tense movie from Paul Greengrass, who also directed United 93 and Captain Phillips. It's the true story of the devastating 2018 fires in Paradise, Southern California. As a California resident, I still remember being indirectly but still affected by these tragic fires, and the movie really honors and highlights the pain and loss of this community while also boasting excellent tension. Greengrass is a master at just having you like hold on to your seat and never let go, and Matthew McConaughey and America Ferrera are both excellent here. Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. The man has done it. Rian Johnson has made a perfect trilogy, with Daniel Craig at the center as the brilliant Benoit Blanc. This movie again does a great job of pulling the rug underneath you, with some great humor, social undertones, and just beautiful direction from Rian Johnson. The cast here, led by Josh O'Connor, is irresistible, and everything about the movie works and just gets better and better as it goes. The only movie I saw at the festival that I just didn't like was Sacrifice, starring Anya Taylor-Joy as a volcano-obsessed cult leader who wants to sacrifice a movie star played by Chris Evans in order to prevent some apocalyptic event. From the opening scene, I felt like this kind of movie was going to be right up my alley, but then it starts to fall apart pretty quickly. It has its humor. Chris Evans is really well cast. He's great here, as is Sam Richardson. but the more twists and turns it takes, the less I cared, and by the time you get to the big finale, I just felt nothing. Roofman is a really entertaining movie that I'd definitely recommend you see in the theater. It stars Channing Tatum as real-life robber Jeffrey Manchester, who robbed a few McDonald's and then hid in a Toys R Us for I don't even know how long. As much as it is more entertaining and less depressing than Derek Cianfrance's other movies, it doesn't fall into like the goofy, crowd-pleasing comedy category. It still takes its time and lets us sit with the characters and unlock their outlook on their situation. So I like that it chose the patient drama route. Hamnet is the best film I saw at the entire festival. Chloe Zhao brings you into a really patient and meditative space, but still a place that you're going to be devastated and maybe crying. Jessie Buckley gives a performance that I hope gets her an Oscar. She's so committed to the role. Paul Mescal is again really vulnerable and complex here. Everything about it, the cinematography, the score, the pace, the writing is just perfect. I can't recommend Hamnet enough, and everyone else around me loved it so much too that it won this year's People's Choice Award at TIFF. Hedda is a movie I was very interested in thanks to my admiration for Nia DaCosta and Tessa Thompson. It's a clever update of the Hedda Gabler play, and Tessa Thompson shines in the titular role, bringing a manipulative and empty side to someone who seems very content with their power and position in life. But I also struggled a little bit with the pace, even though the costume design is beautiful, and it ends up in a really interesting place at the end. Nuremberg was my biggest surprise of the festival. It focuses on the Nuremberg trials of the Nazis after World War II through the eyes of Douglas Kelly, a psychiatrist who is brought in by the army to assess the psychological state of the Nazis who are going on trial. Russell Crowe is really great here as the evil and infamous Hermann Goering, who was one of the people responsible for carrying out Hitler's atrocities. Even though the color palette is kind of dull, it does an excellent job of framing the importance of the Nuremberg trials as to why it had to happen so these horrors could never happen again. And Michael Shannon and Richard E. Grant are scene stealers here too. Frankenstein feels like Guillermo del Toro's passion project. It has some of the most beautiful production design I've ever seen. The cinematography is stunning. The score by Alexandre Desplat. Oscar Isaac is great as Victor Frankenstein. Jacob Elordi is incredible as the creature. You are not ready for his performance. My main issue is that it feels long. It feels like it's 2.5 hours. And I struggled a lot with the pacing in the first half. Like things that are big that are happening in the movie could have happened a little earlier in the runtime. That said, the second half is so good that it really hits hard and makes all the themes resonate with you, and the more I think back at this movie, the more I like it. The Smashing Machine will make you see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson like you've never seen him before. It's the man's most serious, committed, and unbelievable performance yet as he transforms into MMA fighter Mark Kerr. One of the things many said about The Smashing Machine that I don't quite agree with is that it just felt devoid of any 3-act structure, but to me, I loved that Benny Safdie kind of just brings you into the world and doesn't make you feel like you're seeing a series of scripted scenes with actors reading dialogue. You're just a fly on the wall watching this space with the characters and, you know, living in this space and their inner lives with them. Not to mention, Emily Blunt is also spectacular here. The Testament of Ann Lee might end up being the year's most polarizing movie because it introduces itself as a musical, but soon proves to be more of an anti-musical, and I think Amanda Seyfried gives her most powerful performance yet. The movie works as a dramatic biopic for Ann Lee, but also incorporates big musical sequences when her followers are worshiping through song. I also really liked Lewis Pullman here, and it's a movie that takes a lot of swings and asks you to be on its strange wavelength, but really worked for me. California Schemin is also based on a crazy true story. It's also the directorial debut of Scottish actor James McAvoy, who we all know from movies like X-Men First Class, Split, and It Chapter 2. In this movie, two Scottish rappers in London decide to pretend that they're American in order to be taken seriously and make it in the hip-hop world. I will say this is a movie that rests entirely on the concept. So when you dive into this wild idea to, start this elaborate lie and put on these American accents, then the characters are really enjoyable and it's funny and it's a good time. But once you get into the later acts, it does become a little standard, and I would say watch it based on how much that concept hooks you. It Was Just an Accident won the Palme d'Or this year at Cannes, and it's a really resonant movie about political suppression and abuse of power in Iran. It's about a group of former political prisoners who come together one fateful day to identify a man that one of them has found who they believe to be their vicious tormentor. Beyond the themes, this movie has some really incredible characters and breathtaking dialogue and long take sequences, and the movie's director Jafar Panahi came out to introduce the movie, which was a really powerful moment in the festival. If you love Park Chan-wook, No Other Choice blends everything that he's known for: the dark humor, the morally murky protagonists, and the sick, unhinged violence. Lee Byung-hun, who you may know from many Hollywood movies, as well as the Korean projects I Saw the Devil and Squid Game, really shines here. Although it's the director's most grounded movie in today's reality, as it's a commentary on employment, materialism, and many more, it's still very unpredictable, and there's no line for the crazy and sick directions that this movie will go. Eternity is a wonderfully made rom-com in which Miles Teller and Callum Turner are fighting over Elizabeth Olsen in the afterlife. One thing that really hooked me about Eternity was the production design. The retro look and feel almost felt like WandaVision, which also stars Elizabeth Olsen, or even Pixar's Soul in a way. When the humor goes for it, it really hits, and in no small part thanks to Davine Joy Randolph, who's phenomenal here. And Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen give really great and committed performances. I thought it was really charming, and the people who I know who saw this movie who were married were especially touched and moved by the themes about finding your soulmate. Rental Family has what I think is Brendan Fraser's second best performance after The Whale. He stars as a struggling actor in Japan who gets a job at a company in which he's tasked to play different roles in people's lives, whether it's video game friend, groom for a day, or long lost father. Fraser is the beating heart of the movie. He has a tenderness that's so easy to connect to as an audience member. It does have a few pacing and writing issues, but Hikari's direction really brings to life a touching and warm movie about human connection and the risk that comes from it, a rewarding risk. I think many people will enjoy it and find some unique merit in it. Thank you very much for watching my TIFF 2025 recap, the 50th anniversary of TIFF. I had a really busy week watching movies, spending time with friends. To all of you who made my time great there, special shout out to my team at First Reviews. Thank you all so much. Or to those who may have just met for a day or two. I'm still writing some of my reviews from TIFF as I'm recording this, and I'm recovering from a cold, so pulling off this video was quite the feat for me. Anyway, if you watched till the end, I hope you got something, whether it is, some sort of drive to want to go to TIFF in the future, or just a movie or two to look forward to in the fall or in the next year. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and as always, stay tuned for more on the channel.